Okay, welcome back everybody. Be part 13 of my Dresden build. I want to thank everybody that left me comments about those. I was asking a question about what they called those little arms that swing out and lower the lifeboats or whatever they are. That they're called a divot. I want to thank everybody that left me comments, let me know what they were called. I just couldn't figure that out for the life of me. And then once I heard the name, I thought, just no kidding. Only other thing I got to mention this week is I got a comment from a fellow who was a regular watcher of mine. He's from Canada. And he ordered some of that Easy Line string, and he's working on a tall ship. I wrote him back and I said, I really don't think I would use this on any kind of tall ship where you're doing rigging that where you want to seize your line, or you got to run it through blocks, things like that. I don't think this would be the proper thing to use. Number one, you're not going to be able to seize this stuff, you know. In case anybody doesn't know what that is, you got a line coming down and you got string or rope or whatever wrapped around it. And that's another thing. It has no real look to it. It's just a piece of line, whereas you can buy string to do rigging with on a tall ship that simulates real rope. You know, it looks like it. This stuff doesn't. It's just a plain flat piece of whatever it's made out of, you know. So no, I really wouldn't recommend this stuff for doing a tall ship or anything like that. Like I said before, basically I've seen guys use this like on an airplane where they got to run a line from the front of the airplane to the tail, or a lot of guys use it on their ships, just somewhere where you need a small line run for like an antenna or something like that. But to do rigging on a big ship, no. I really don't recommend it for that. Like I said before, there's a video out there where you can buy this from. What was it, Berkshire or something like that? Where they're using it for telephone lines on a model railroad. That's their big thing for it. But yeah, something like this, what I'm doing with it, it's great. You know, on ships. It works fantastic, really does. So I think that's about it. You know, I have not touched another model in probably 2 weeks. I haven't done anything in here, so I don't know where I'm going after this one. We put another bid in on a house yesterday, and I don't know what's happening with that. We're waiting to hear. This game you play with these realtors and these people is just, I'm getting tired of it. You know, we've looked at about 40 houses so far, and it's just, I'm about wore out on it. So we might be taking a break, but I just haven't had the time or the willpower to come in here and work on models. So anyway, enough of my problems. Let's get the camera turned around and I'll show you where we're at and what we're up to this week. Getting the photo etch done and getting my funnels on. So enough of me talking. Let's get into it. Okay, doing some more photo etch work. I'm getting my railings on the ship. Actually, I'm up to my very last one. And just, you know, a little update on photo etch. I find that it's much easier for me to cut this photo etch with a razor blade. Alright, it works much easier for me. And once again, you know, I got my little ceramic tile. Okay, that's what I cut it on. And I find, like I said, much easier with this, with the razor blade. And then I'll cut off one of these railings that I need. Okay, let me move that out of the way. And then I'm working on this section right back here on the rear of the ship. This is the last piece I got to do. There's a bunch of folds in it. I'm starting back here. I want to make sure I got a full stanchion right back here, and then come on up and around, and then it's got a curve on this part here, come down, do a 90, and then do another 90. So what I do is I kind of guesstimate, get me a piece that I figure is long enough, you know, to do the whole thing. Once you get one side done, the other side's a piece of cake, because then you know how long the next one has to be. What I do is I'll count these little stanchions. It's probably not showing up, but I'll count each one of them, and I think I had something like 16 or 17 I needed on this one side. So then I know what I need on this next side, so I can get it cut pretty close. Now, to get this is from about here to here. It's just a nice sweeping arch, nothing bad, no kinks in it or anything. And I was just taking a piece and just manipulating it with my hand, just running it kind of through my two fingers like you would a ribbon, and work it to get a curve in it, okay? And just kept doing that and doing that until I get a nice little sweeping arch in it, okay? Here it is right here. I got it all done. But if you can see that little, it's probably not showing up, but I got a little arch in there. All right, and then I come back to this piece here that kind of curves out. So then I've measured back, and I wanted to end on a full stanchion there and one here, and it just so happens it wound up that way. Now with this photo etch, it's real easy to get a curve in it. You just take your knife on a soft surface, put your knife down there on it, and just roll it on it. Look at that. I don't know if you're seeing it, but it's rolling it right up, okay? So then you can get to that point, and then I just had to manipulate it with my fingers. From this stanchion, I kind of bent it back out, and from this stanchion, I kind of bent it back out. Pretty much using my fingers and just being careful. And then I got that little arch in there. If you can see it, it's right around here. Okay? I don't know if any of this photo etch is showing up. Alright? And then I came back, came to the full stanchion, made a 90, went to another one, made another 90. Okay, I'm back. I had take a little break there. Wife walked in with some McDonald's. Got to have my McDonald's. Should have bought stock in that company. I'd be a rich man by now just from what I ate there. Okay. So this photo etch. So once I get to pretty close to the shape that I want, which is going to be this right here, then I'll test fit it. I'll set it up on there, see how it looks, see how it fits, take it off, got to tweak it a little bit more. And I probably had this on 3 or 4 times, getting it just right. So when it comes time, all I got to do is set it on there and it's ready to glue. I don't have to, you know, worry about trying to bend something to make it stay in a position or whatever. That is ready to go just the way it is. Alright, so then what I do is I've been using this canopy glue. This stuff is great for this. Okay, it's working for me. And let me get this out of the way so I don't bend it. And I'll just take, you know, put a little dab on my paper and take a toothpick, or once again I'm still using one of these old blades, and I just run a bead all the way along that seam where this is going to go. I'll just run a little thin line of that canopy glue all the way, and then I'll just come along with a pair of tweezers, get a hold of this thing, and set it down in there, and you know, it's ready to go. I don't even hardly wait for that canopy glue to dry. As soon as I get it on there, I'll start with my Q-tips or cotton buds. And once again, I got those two different kinds. This one's pretty nice because it gets into them real tight little spots. And I'll just dip it in a little bit of water I got here. Okay, just dip it in there. Take a paper towel, wipe off the excess, and just start cleaning up any extra that I got in there. If you do it nice and a nice thin little bead, you don't have that much to clean up. This works it real good, gets down in there, and then this one I'll come along with this and soak up the excess. You know, like if it's a little watery on the deck, this will soak it right up. And that's pretty much it. Really, photo etch went together pretty good. Let me bring this up here to you. Let's see if I can get a hold of this. I think it'd be better. Yeah, let me just zoom in on it for you. I don't have very many places anymore I can pick this thing up. And one thing too, I probably should have held off putting these on back here, but that's okay. You know, I just worked around them. There was no big deal. But yeah, I don't have too many places I can pick this thing up real good anymore without worrying about breaking something. So let me zoom in a little bit on some of that work. Wrong way. There we go. There it is up on the front. And come back. There's a small section right there. Both sides. And let me tell you something. When you're cutting this stuff, you got some little pieces, save it. Don't throw them little pieces away. Because you can see I had to put a little piece there and a little piece there to fill in that gap, and seemed like there was somewhere else I had to put a little bitty piece. So save them little pieces of your railing, because you never know, it might fit somewhere else. And then here's the one on the back. There's none through there, but here's the one on the back I'm working on the other side. Okay. Now you might ask me, say, well, why didn't I paint this before I put it on? Well, it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other, you know. Yeah, you could probably painted it first. It'd probably been a lot easier. But the thing is, you get it painted and then you start handling it and bending it and twisting it, and you know, a lot of times the paint just comes off. So I think it's not that difficult to take a little brush and dip it in a little thin down paint and just go over them railings. It's no big deal. But yeah, it might be a little bit easier. It's whatever you want to do. If you want to try painting it first and then glue it on, I prefer do it this way, because I know I get a good bond between that piece of metal itself and the deck, instead of trying to bond two pieces of painted surface together, you know. It'll work either way. I don't see no problem with it. But yeah, I've been doing it this way. I just prefer, I'll just come along with one of my little brushes and just get in there. Yeah, I got to get in behind and stuff too. You just got to be careful. Take your time. If you don't feel you can do it, then paint it first and then put it on. And then just come back and maybe touch up wherever you need to. But yeah, it's not too hard. I mean, this one is a piece of cake compared to that Arizona. Man, that was a job. But I also have a lot of short, you know, little areas. I just got this little short area here. Let me turn the lens around again.
and I'm zoomed way in.
But there was just a lot of small area. This little area from here to here was nothing. Put that little bow in there, and then a straight piece with a little 90. It was a piece of cake, really. So I got to get this last piece on back here, and then my all my railing will be done. Okay, that's it for this section. Well, there it is. About an hour and a half later. Only took me about an hour to paint them railings. If you thin that paint down pretty good and you just brush it on, it kind of seeps around to the back of it. You just got to do a little touch up here and there on the back. But yeah, it only took me about an hour. I'd say an hour to do them railings. Let me see if I can find the brush I was using. I was using this brush right here. Let me bring this up. That one right there. And just going across each and every one of them little lines. And yeah, that's it. It's kind of leaning on top of that piece of foam. I got my little ships on the back. Got them on. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit better here for you. Yeah, that railing looks pretty good now, and it's all painted up. Like I said, it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. If you want to paint it before you put it on, or put it on then paint it. Wasn't that much trouble doing it that way. You see my 2 extra ships on the rear there now. Okay, and like I said, I got them reversed. One should be on the other side of what they are, but they fit better that way. Okay, now I'm going to take her outside and get me a couple coats of dull coat on it. Dull it down, let that sit for a day or two, and then I'll get my funnels on. Alright, that's it for this section. Okay, so here we are back. This is about a day and a half later after the first part of these videos on this section. And as you can see, I got my funnels on. But I went ahead and, like I said, I put about 3 good coats of dull coat on it. And that really helped the ship out. That took that shine off of it, settled everything down, and just the overall appearance really got enhanced by doing that. The wooden deck, I wasn't sure what that dull coat would do to that, so I took a piece of scrap that I had and sprayed it on there and let it set for about a day. And there was no change in it at all. It didn't stain it. It didn't do anything weird to it. So I just went ahead, when I sprayed my dull coat, covered that wooden deck and everything. All right. So don't worry about that. At least in my, in what I done. Now I used, here, let me get this. This is what I used. This here testers, okay, and it's a dull coat right there. But yeah, I put about 3 good coats on it. I let it set for about a day, and then I came in and glued my funnels on, let them sit for a little while, and then did my rigging. I also went ahead and felt that it was time to get my little display base on here, because I'm getting to the point now where I can't hardly touch this thing anymore. So now I can, move it around. If I got to pick it up and move it, I'll pick it up from bow to stern. But be careful with them, because there is a front and a back. They are different. Same way with the funnels. The funnels have a slight lean to them to the back. Not much, but there is a slight lean. So make sure when you put your funnels on there, you got them turned the right way so they're all leaning to the back. Let me get a piece of paper here for you. put behind that. Let me see, I don't know if this will help out with the rigging any. Probably not, but you could probably, I'll zoom in on it a little bit. You'll be able to see that rigging a little better. But it turned out nice. You know, that easy line string, that is some nice stuff. You put a little dab of super glue where you're going to attach it, and you just bring that string down to it and hold it there for about 5, no more than 10 seconds, and it grabs it right now. But what I done was, if you remember, I had pre-drilled them holes in them funnels and already had that rigging line in that hole before I put them on here. Okay, and I had that string pretty long. That string came way down to here. So what I done was I took a pair of tweezers and grabbed the hold of that string and kind of stretched it to where I felt it was a nice fit from here to there. And then I left about 1/8 of an inch. Like, if say this is a string, I grabbed it with my tweezers and I left about 1/8 of an inch of the string hanging over, and then I put my super glue on there and just came down with my tweezers and that little 1/8 of an inch extra, touched it off, held it for about 5 or 10 seconds, let it go, and there she is. Worked out pretty good. I'm really satisfied with it. All the pictures I looked at and the directions that Revell give you, there's no definitive spot to where these go. Okay, so I had to be careful. I would have liked to have brought this front string down to here, but you can't do that because the gun's there. You got to have room to swing that gun out. So I had to bring it up to here. Same way on these ones back here. I would have liked to have taken this one back a little bit further, but you can't because the boat's there in the way. Maybe you could have took it down inside, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to stay to the outside of the ship with all this rigging on these funnels. I didn't want to have, 2, 4, 6, 8. I didn't want to have 2 out of the 8 here, or 2, 4, 6. I'm sorry, I can't even count. I didn't want to have 2 out of the 6 on the inside and the rest on the outside. So I kept them all to the outside of the ship, all between the hull and the edge of the deck. Okay, so watch out for that when you're bringing a couple of these down. Remember how things have got to function on the deck. This gun is fine. I've looked at the directions. This gun only swings, I can't remember what the degrees on it were. So these 2 rigging lines are not interfering with that gun at all. But yeah, she looks pretty good. Let me zoom in a little bit for you here. Yep. Now, I've never used this easy line string before, like I said, so I don't know how it holds up over time, but it seems to be the thing to do. I mean, guys have been using it for quite a while. It's pretty popular on model railroads for running telephone wire. But I have seen a lot of guys use it on ships, so I thought I'd give it a try. I'll tell you what, it sure beats the hell out of trying to take a piece of cotton string and bringing it down. You know, it worked. I don't know what to say about it. It just worked. It worked great for me. Now, that's not saying somebody else might not have a problem. I don't know. Also, on this one part of the bow up here, I'm thinking about doing something up here. This right here. In the plans, they show a set of steps that comes up, a little bitty platform, and then a set of steps that goes down, so they can get over this. The guys can get over this piece of metal that's welded to the deck. The photo etch I got, I don't have enough steps. Number 1. Number 2, I think they were a little bit too big probably for it.
So what I've got is I got some steps left over from my Arizona build, the photo etch on that. They are a little smaller in scale. And I'm going to see if I can't put two together with like a little piece of brass platform in between them to bridge this thing here. I'm going to screw around with that. I might do that because really it should be there. Also, I'm pretty much, getting to the point where I think 2 more videos and I think we're going to be done. Only thing I got left is my mast and them extra 2 little boats on the side that go right there in the middle, that I'm going to turn them and have them like they're hanging over the side. One thing I'm worried about though is this rear mast. Okay, the foremast up here, I don't have no problem with that. There's the hole in the deck that it goes in, and then there's also a place on the back of this cabin here where it mounts to. So I got 2 means of support for the foremast. But the main mast back here, that's a different story. All you have is that hole in the deck. And this plastic, I don't know, 1/2 millimeter, maybe 1 millimeter at the most thick. And that's all I am going to have to support that mast. This easy line string, I don't think you're going to be able to count on that to give that mast support. So I don't know, I might be using some of my 5-minute epoxy on that. Had I thought about that beforehand, I would have probably, before I put that deck in there, made something up inside of it so it would slide down into that. But that's going to give me a little bit of a headache there, I think. Trying to get that mast set up just right. Okay, I think that's going to be it for about this section. Let me zoom in a little bit more for you again. But I think those masts turned out pretty good. I think you can see that string all right. Yep, I'm pleased with it. Now if my mast come out half as good as what that funnels did, I will be a happy camper. I don't see no problem with it. And once again, there's going to be places where I've got some lines that have to tie down up here to the front of the ship in different places, and there's no clear indication of where they go. I'm just going to have to use my imagination. So, okay, I think that's going to be enough for this one. Yep, I think about 2 more and we'll be done. Next thing, I think probably in the next video, you'll see my mast on there. And that probably them 2 little boats will probably be the last thing I do. And that's another thing. If I had been following the directions, these funnels would have been on from way back in the beginning. But you can see how I did things is to keep things out of my way while I'm working on other stuff, and keep it so I don't break stuff off. I'm to the point, like I said, I can't pick this thing up anymore by the ship because there's so many fragile little pieces on here. But yeah, I don't follow directions too good. I do what works for me. So keep that in mind, If you're following the directions, you would have had these funnels on a long time ago. Okay, that's enough. I yapped for enough. I know I talk too much. All right, thanks for watching.